Welcome back. There's nothing more annoying than ducking into a coffee shop without coins and needing to break a note for that flat white. The flip side of shrapnel is that you, come Friday, often have too much and your wallet is weighed down by coins. What if you could use your mobile phone for small cash purchases or to transfer small amounts of money to colleagues or friends? My next guest, Harold Dimple, created Mhits, which promises a new way to spend. Harold joins us now. And Harold, thank you for being with us in the studio for Summer Money. The big question, of course, is Mhits. How does it work?
Okay, basically it's like cloud payments. Think of it as if it's a bank account or an account linked to your phone. You create an account, load it with money, and then just use your phone using text messaging to direct where that money goes. So,
now, with this kind of model, in previous operations, not yours, previous attempts to do this, credit cards have been necessary, haven't they, to link accounts? But your model is different. Tell me why.
In terms of the someone storing money with Mhits. Okay, the difference with our model is that it's stored funds. Right. Okay, so you actually load it with money. You can load it via bank account, credit card, PayPal, other means, but the money is held by Mhits until you need to spend it. You can also cash it back out.
So you can use a credit card, but you can also load up money into your Mhits account.
Yeah, it's sort of like, think of an e-tag type system where you've got to have money in the account first, okay, to be able to spend it. And the reason we do it that way is because we need to be able to transfer funds instantaneously. And things like credit card and banking products don't often allow that, which means when you're talking about small amounts of money, $2, that sort of thing, very low risk transactions, you need to be able to have a real-time switching platform to do that, and that's why we store the money.
So walk me through a hypothetical. Somebody has registered, loaded up their Mhits account. Yep. They take their mobile phone into a participating coffee shop, for example. What happens next? Okay,
so each coffee shop will have a venue ID, we call it. It might be the name of their cafe, or it might be something six characters or so, and all they do is they text the word buy, followed by the venue name, followed by the amount, and they can add a description. Now, they can purchase over the counter instead of handing over coins, but the beauty of text messaging is that because you've got characters to play with, you can add your order description with that text message. So if you're in the office and you want to order your coffee, you can text from your desk, walk down the lift, and the coffee's there ready to be picked up, so there's no more waiting in line or waiting in queues.
Let's talk about the business model. Mhits, obviously, as a new way of spending, has the challenge of selling the concept.
Yep, sure.
And often these kinds of products are quite chicken and egg, aren't they? Yeah. Do you have the register base to convince the merchant? Or do you have enough merchants to convince people to register? Where are you with that challenge?
Well, look, you're spot on. It is a chicken and the egg scenario. So we're under no sort of disillusions about what we need to do in order to get massive critical take-up of this. So what we start is with niches. Because we're up against bank and credit card products and some of the electronic type payment methods, but what we focus on are small cash, typical cash coin type transactions, which these products don't do very well with. Small values are just messy for them. So the chicken and the egg scenario basically has to start with, I think,
the chicken or the egg?
No, someone told me once it's the first egg.
Right. Okay.
So really, for us, we didn't start with a cafe strategy. That was a bit serendipitous, actually. We started with person-to-person payments, because that's what our platform is actually really good at, because you don't need any cafes, you don't need venues, you don't need hardware or anything. But what we found is that wasn't enough to kick it into gear. But we realised that coffee shops offer a unique, what we call a transaction corridor. And what that means is basically a type of payment that you're sort of forced to do, or you do it out of habit, or, you know, let's face it, coffee, people are addicted to it. People buy coffee every day from the same venue.
It's spare change, spend.
Yeah, it's lifestyle, it's part of your social behaviour. So if you look at coffee is, believe it or not, the second most traded commodity on the planet. So the volume that goes through...
knowing everyone at Sky News Business, I believe that.
The volume of transactions that go through coffee is pretty large. So that in itself constitutes a big enough business case for us just to focus on coffee alone. So we're just working our way through the technology, ironing out some of the issues we've learnt. We've now got a much more mature product than we had, say, 12 months ago. And so we've been working on coffee because obviously people generally buy it from the same place every day. The other area we're working on now is takeaway fast food and beverage franchises, where we have a slightly simplified option for them, so that we can, say, for example, code their menu and text in a code for the drink. The other application for our technology is parking. Now, we're working on a couple of products for that at the moment, because parking, again, is a bit of a holy grail. Credit card does deal with it to a limited degree, but it's still messy. You've still got card readers out in the street. So we're also working on a solution for that market as well.
Let me get an idea of saturation as far as product growth. Coffee and coffee retailers is a first focus,
yes.
and Eastern Seaboard. Where would you like to take the business as far as growth and sales over the next 12 months?
Okay, we focused initially on Sydney. Our head office is actually in the ACT, so we've also got a few venues there. We're now looking at Melbourne this year. And we're also like to really move into Brisbane and maybe Adelaide and Perth. We do have a venue in Adelaide, but we're sort of past the sort of early stage now. We're into fairly much sort of. We've got, as I said, a mature product, and we're now looking at strategically targeting independent cafes, but also some of the franchise cafes.
Help me understand the model a little bit more from a revenue perspective. Is it a fee structure that generates revenue for Mhits?
Correct, yeah, it is. Basically, it's a transaction fee. So we take in compared to credit card, it might appear somewhat higher percentage-wise, but compared to other mobile payment systems, it beats them by a mile. Some of the traditional methods of ordering through mobile using premium text or these sort of services where the charge is applied to your phone credit or deducted from your prepaid balance. The effective merchant fee or fee is up to between 30 and 50%. So when you compare it with that type of service, it works.
So the merchant fee, the fee structure for revenue for Mhits is primarily with the merchant at this stage?
Correct.
It is. So to register as a customer, what are the costs other than the costs of the products that a registered customer of Mhits might experience?
An ordinary person, it's free to use, okay, so it's free. The cost of a text message is borne by yourself, but these days it's negligible, you know, you're bundled into plans. So it's similar to the credit card model in that the merchant or the business pays. Person-to-person payments are free. We don't charge anything for that. But also a smaller part of our model is obviously interest on cash that we hold. So, and although it's a smaller part of our revenue, that's obviously something that we benefit from. We don't pay interest, but in lieu of that, we give you free transactions.
Free transactions. What is the growth strategy in Australia and worldwide? In some of the notes you mentioned Papua New Guinea. Why that market? What is Mhits doing there?
Okay, well, look, believe it or not, and there's a bit more world consensus along this line that mobile payments like ours and other similar models have quite frankly struggled in the West, US, UK, because of this competition with the banking sector and the banking products. And people basically have bank accounts. Most of people's money is in bank accounts, so that's the most logical way of sort of transacting out of. Now, in developing markets, people don't have access to banking products. And some of the figures I've seen recently indicate there's about 5.3 billion people in the world that are underbanked or unbanked. They call people without access to bank products. Now, when you look at it from that perspective, that's most of the people in the world. Now, and what we've found, and you might have seen this, viewers might have noticed this over the past couple of years, there are a lot of examples of mobile payments getting a lot of traction in, say, Africa and so on, in countries where there's not a very good banking infrastructure, or people don't qualify for a bank account. They might not have a job or they might have regular income. So, and Papua New Guinea is a classic case in which people Mobile is relatively new there, but the uptake is
high.
Is very high now. It's much easier to basically hang a payment system off a phone than it is to try and get everyone to have a bank account.
What opportunities would exist then in places like India and China for Mhits? Is that something you'd be considering in the medium term for the business? Because we know that in India, for example, the mobile phone uptake is in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, well, look, this is the thing. Our model is sort of twofold almost. In Australia, we operate a platform, a payment service. Internationally, we do what you'd call, say, vendor work, in that we work with partners to develop mobile payment platforms and implement them under our brand or their brand, whatever. So the developing markets sort of fall under this category. So we've basically seen there's probably more potential in those sorts of applications in developing countries than there is, say, in Australia. So if, for example, the take-up proves too difficult in Australia, we will succeed to some degree in Australia, particularly in retail point of sale, where there are definite opportunities. But in developing countries, people often don't have a choice. They're
going to have a mobile phone, but they're not going to have necessarily have a bank account.
To give you some statistics, one of our services in New Guinea allows people to pay for electricity using their phone. In a similar way, people use prepaid recharge here. In New Guinea, electricity is prepaid, basically because of issues with billing and getting money off people. So our service allows you to use your prepaid credit to purchase an electricity voucher, which is sent into a text message, a number.
By Mhits. We have to wrap up in just a moment. Harold, what, as far as even in percentage terms, do you want to see in either revenue or sales growth over the next 12 months? Yeah,
look, we've had some pretty phenomenal growth. Admittedly, it's off a small base, so we've been growing about 200% a year. So
200% a year, but that's as you say, off a small base.
That's been 3 years in a row. So we're hoping to replicate that. We're starting to see some real traction in some of these vendor opportunities.